My name is Sally. I'm 32 years old and in my 8th month of pregnancy. I used to work as an office employee, but now I'm on maternity leave. After giving birth, I plan to take parental leave and take care of the baby myself for a while. My husband Eric is 35, 3 years older than me and works for a major company. We got married 2 years ago and I became pregnant smoothly. Now every day is filled with anticipation and anxiety as I await my first childbirth. Sally, your baby's due soon, isn't it? When I visit my in-laws, my sister-in-law Elnora calls out to me. I don't interact much with my brother-in-law, but Elnora is a housewife living with my in-laws, so we talk often. 2 years ago, my mother-in-law hurt her leg, and Elnora, being the wife of the eldest son, moved in to care for her, worried about leaving her alone during the day. However, mother-in-law can walk just fine, needing only a cane. Elnora has a caring personality and used to work in caregiving, so she readily agreed to move in and care for her mother-in-law. With 1 month left until my due date, I return to my parents' home and prepare for childbirth. Even with my heavy belly, shopping for the baby and thinking about our future life was enjoyable. Then, 2 days after my due date, labor begins. I contact my husband, but for some reason, he doesn't answer or reply. At first, I was worried. But as the contractions got stronger, I had no time to think about him. My husband was supposed to be there for the birth, but in the end, he never came and my daughter was born. After safely giving birth, I called my husband to inform him and then fall asleep from relief and exhaustion. I wake up to someone calling my name.
Sally, how long are you going to sleep?
I open my eyes to see my husband and in-laws. My husband happily says,
Dad and Mom came too. Where's the baby?
I had told him I didn't want to see anyone after giving birth, so why did he bring his parents? I finally sit up and tell him the baby should be in the nursery. It's a healthy girl. Then mother-in-law suddenly exclaims, "A girl? She can't be the heir." My father-in-law adds,
Not a boy? Utterly useless.
I'm confused and my husband even says,
What? It's a girl after all? I thought it might be a boy since they said it wasn't certain.
My husband is a second son, so I thought being an heir didn't matter, but the eldest son and his wife are undergoing fertility treatment, so they were expecting a boy from me. I felt anger at their words, but I was too tired and in pain to even get angry. A nurse noticed and kicked out my husband and in-laws. I cried and the nurse comforted me. After that, my husband didn't even visit, and my daughter and I faced discharge day. My parents came to pick us up and we went home. My husband was kind when we got married, but he changed one day, and as the baby grew, I felt his feelings drifting further away. Just when I found out I was pregnant, my husband made a mistake at work and was demoted, resulting in a pay cut. It didn't seem like a big mistake, so I thought he could recover quickly. But he became upset that a colleague became his boss, lost motivation, and still hasn't been promoted. I hoped that having the baby might change him, but now I wonder what will happen. As I'm grappling with these feelings, my husband calls. I answer, hope in my heart.
Sally, when are you coming back?
I'm planning to come back in about a month, but I have luggage, so I want you to pick me up on a day that's convenient for you, Eric. Then my husband snorts and says something unbelievable.
You know, I bought a condominium near the station.
What? The high-rise condominium near the station?
Yeah.
Wait, the high-rise condominium is really expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, and the view is amazing.
Unbelievably, my husband tells me that while I was at my parents' house, he bought a luxury high-rise condominium, moved out of our old one, and has already moved in. What do you mean? We don't have that kind of money, do we? Unfazed by my panic, my husband says,
I used the money from selling the family home as a down payment.
What? He sold a family home? What about his parents, his brother, and his wife? Ignoring my confusion, my husband laughed and said,
From now on, we'll live with Mom and Dad.
What? Dad? Mom? I can't keep up with his sudden words. Who are Mom and Dad? His parents? They're already grandparents and he's calling them Mom and Dad? As I'm speechless, my husband continues.
After all, you're not working. You were just lying around at home, so I don't need you.
That was only when I was bedridden with severe morning sickness or abdominal pain, not always. Rather, since I went on maternity leave, I've been doing all the housework we used to share. He didn't have to say it like that. As I'm thinking this, my husband says something even worse.
Get out, you housewife parasite. The child wasn't a boy, and my brother's undergoing fertility treatment, so I'm being counted on. So I'll remarry a woman who can bear an heir. Mom and Dad said they don't need a childless couple, and my sisters wanted to live separately. That's when this high-rise condominium was on sale. Your stuff is in a rental storage, so go get it sometime. Well, anyway, we're getting a divorce.
With that, he hung up unilaterally. I'm stunned. I have lost my place to go home? Whether it's sadness or regret, tears naturally spill. I try to think about what to do next, but I can't find an answer. At that moment, my daughter wakes up crying. Wiping my tears and holding my daughter, I realize that I'm the only one who can protect her, and I must be strong. Seeing my daughter stop crying and smile, my heart is soothed. I stand up and begin to organize what I need to do. I tell my parents the situation, and of course they're furious, but I tell them I want a divorce and ask for their help. Half a month later, with no contact from my husband, I sent my father to tell him my intention to divorce. Then my husband called me right away.
Hey, what's this about dividing property? The money in the bank account is mine. I won't give you even $1.
I had been silent before, but after half a month, I had recovered both mentally and physically. And I wasn't going to be like before. True, the account was in Eric's name, but that was shared property for both of us. In fact, I also put money into that account for living expenses, so it's all subject to property division.
What? But it's in my name, right?
That's why it's shared property. I didn't think he was that dense, or maybe he's just being self-serving. Either way, whether my husband understands or not, I will make sure the property is divided. Even if you don't agree, we will divide the property properly. Besides, you're the one who said you wanted a divorce, right? I want to divorce someone like you, so just sign the divorce papers, okay?
How dare you talk to your husband like that after I've supported you all this time? Fine, I'll divorce you. I'll write it right now. Just wait.
I deliberately angered my husband to get him to write the divorce papers, and this strategy seemed to be a great success. After hanging up, I withdrew money from the account where I managed the household finances. I couldn't withdraw it all at once due to the limit, so I took it out over several days. But my husband didn't seem to notice, and he didn't say anything. I submitted the filled-out divorce papers that my father brought back the next day, and they were accepted. And we officially became strangers. I'm struggling with my first child-rearing experience while staying at my parents' house. I'm gradually getting used to parenting, and above all, my daughter is adorable, and I feel happy. A few months later, while soothing my daughter, someone came to visit. It was my ex-husband, Eric. I hadn't seen his face since my daughter was born, but I didn't feel anything. I wasn't angry or sad. I responded expressionlessly.
What? This is a nuisance.
Then Eric suddenly bowed his head.
Sally, please come back.
I could only sigh at the expected turn of events. I tried to close the door silently, but Eric sat down in front of it and started talking unilaterally.
Actually, I'm about to be kicked out of that high-rise condominium.
I figured. Probably because you don't have enough money, right?
The savings should have been more, but they're gone. Dad quit his job, and Mom is bragging to her friends about living in a high-rise condominium and always throwing parties.
I couldn't help but burst out laughing at that point. There's no way Eric's income alone would get a loan, so probably father-in-law's income was considered too. If he quits, of course, they won't be able to pay. Dad and Mom, huh? I can only laugh. Suppressing my laughter, Eric continues unaware.
So, before I knew it, the account balance was gone, and if I don't pay by next week, they said I have to leave. So, please come back.
After laughing for a while, I glared at Eric. What's going to change if I go back? Just another housewife parasite, right?
Well, right now the house is a mess and no one's cooking.
What? Come to think of it, mother-in-law was never good at housework. Since my brother-in-law got married, Elnora had been taking care of a lot of things, and it seemed like she had been doing everything since they moved in together. Come to think of it, I wonder what happened to Elnora. Hey, what happened to your brother and Elnora? You said you sold the family home, right?
Yeah, my brother was always against living in a place that was beyond our means, and Dad got angry, and since he wanted to live separately anyway, he kicked them out.
My brother-in-law was sensible. I'm glad Elnora doesn't seem to be involved. I've been busy taking care of my daughter and didn't have time to worry about it. Look, shouldn't you guys figure it out on your own? Asking me to come back is just because you want a housekeeper, right? Who do you think would go back to that? I am busy taking care of my daughter. I don't have time to take care of you guys. My daughter brings me happiness, but what do you guys give me? Who would want to be a housekeeper without even getting paid? Then Eric said in a panic,
What do you mean? It's love. Love. I have love for you, don't I?
At those words, I laughed. Love? From Eric? I don't need that. I don't even need money. Even though I only stated the obvious, Eric looked hurt for some reason. I took the opportunity to say what I hadn't been able to say before. First of all, it was tough on your income alone. That's why I put the same amount into the house. And I wasn't a housewife. I was on maternity leave. I was receiving an allowance and putting it into the house, and I did all the housework because I was the one at home. You wanted to act like the head of the family, but I'm the one who should be thanked. It's natural that life would become harder without the money I was putting in. And this is what happens when you make a stupid purchase like a high-rise condominium. Then Eric looked genuinely surprised as if he didn't understand. I had explained it when I went on maternity leave, but I was so dumbfounded that I couldn't say anything. By the way, why did father-in-law quit his job?
Oh, Dad said it would look bad to work while living in a high-rise condominium, so he quit.
Are they both stupid, father and son? I don't understand their logic at all. And what's with this papa and mama thing? Have you been holding back and calling them father and mother in front of me? Have you always been calling them that at your age? That's creepy. I felt relieved to finally say what I had wanted to say for a long time. When I urged Eric, who was hanging his head, to go home, he begged me to let him see our daughter at least. But that was just an excuse to keep me, not because he really wanted to see her. What? You don't need her because she's not a boy, right? Your family is just Papa and Mama, right? You don't even know our daughter's name now. I haven't told you and you haven't asked. If you really wanted to see her, you would have been more involved with her sooner. After I said that and closed the front door, Eric slowly walked away. A few days later, I received a call from Elnora for the first time in a while. I'm sorry, I couldn't get in touch. A lot has been going on. Elnora said she didn't know the address of my parents' house and couldn't send a birth celebration gift, so she arranged to come over to our place. My brother-in-law came along and bowed his head to me and my parents, apologizing for his family's behavior, but he was not at fault at all. According to what I heard, they were kicked out of the high-rise condominium and only the loan remained. They tried to get close to my brother-in-law and his wife, but they were refused any further involvement, and in the end, they're living in an old apartment building that's about 50 years old. Father-in-law has found a new job, but the salary is much lower than before, and mother-in-law has never worked, so she doesn't even have a part-time job. Apparently, they often argue loudly, and the voices of their quarrels calling each other Papa and Mama have become the talk of the neighborhood. My daughter is growing rapidly, and she will soon celebrate her first birthday. Her safe growth is my greatest happiness. I'm looking forward to her continued growth in the future.